going to refute the truancy speech. Okay, first they said that they were voluntary, that all of the things were voluntary, and then they also said that companies have already agreed to comply. This is what I would like to respond to that, which is, what if they don't? This will be illegal with PAMTA. The FDA regulations really don't have any backlash to not doing what they say in the first place. So, and the next one, which was, they get us onto the pathway of reducing farm antibiotics. Well, I didn't know if he was trying to make an argument with that, but they didn't really have any impact to that, so it wasn't really an argument in the first place. And then to only 13% of antibiotics are used as growth promoters, I believe they made that argument as well. Well, actually, it is the affirmative team's contention that we should not use antibiotics for growth promotion at all. And that is actually, with the FDA regulations, it is supposed to be not allowed. So that just proves that, one, the FDA regulations aren't working if they do not, in the first place, as they have been saying. And then they also said that there is no strong link. I do have a piece of evidence here that says there is a definite clear link, as well as this is actually a contradiction to what they have been saying about inherency and how the FDA is already solving, and then they're also saying that there is no way that this is even a problem. It is a major contradiction on their part, but I will read this piece of evidence. Consumers Union 2012. Quote, in 2010, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the CDC all testified before Congress that there is a connection between routine use of antibiotics for meat production and the declining effectiveness of antibiotics for people. Dr. Thomas R. Frieden, director of the CDC, noted that there is strong evidence of a link between antibiotic use in food animals and antibiotic resistance in humans. End quote. Now on to the 1 in R. I believe they also said they're phasing out antibiotics, and then they also said that it is the exact same thing as PAMTA. Again, we have shown you it is not the exact same thing as PAMTA, since one, it is voluntary, it is all voluntary, it's not working if they're still using growth promoters in the first place, and also, they again have made a contradiction on their part. And here I would also like to say that they also allow it for preventative uses. I have two pieces of evidence for this. The first being that the FDA won't fix everything. Rick Tubbs, 2013, quote, in 3 years there will be no growth promotion or feed efficiency label claims. All feed additive products will have claims for treatment, prevention, or control, end quote. What that's basically saying is that there will still be allowed for preventative uses. And I'll read the second piece of evidence if I do have time, but I still need to address some of the others. They have agreed to and the 1 in R, he also stated that they have agreed to comply. Well, that doesn't really matter since they have agreed to comply, but again, what if they don't? And also, it has been shown from 2000 and 2016 that there are still 23,000 are still dying as a direct result of antibiotic resistance. And it's antibiotic resistance, not animal antibiotic resistance. Actually, the 0.3, that levels out to 69 people dying, so it still is significant because they did say that all lives matter. So I'm going to read the piece of evidence from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 2016. Quote, antibiotics in similar, each year in the United States, at least 2 million people become infected with bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics, and at least 23,000 people die each year as a direct result of these infections. End quote. That is the same thing that my first piece of evidence that I said in the 1AC, but only from 2016. They republished it. And then they also said that there was a withdrawal system that wasn't really an argument, and they didn't impact it. As well as the status quo policies are working. I'd like to say that they're still using for growth promoters, they are not working, and then also that 23,000 people are still dying. And then they said that they have got knocked down inherency, they have not knocked down inherency, and there is still a significant problem. As well as they have not been really refuting our arguments, but just making the same arguments over and over again, not really refuting any of them, and they didn't quite refute our argument. And then they kept contradicting themselves. Thank you, Gabrielle.